My name is Phil Gaimon. I was a pro cyclist for 10 years, but at the end of 2016, I realized that I had to quit racing and get a job. I couldn't be the best at pro cycling, so I've decided to be the absolute worst at retiring. Welcome to Chasing Cancellara Episode 3. This is a pay-per-view fight, but it's very simple. The fee is you go to Veloguide.com, you sign up for a free account, and then you go check out there's a No Kid Hungry link at the bottom of this thing or on my social, you can find it. Learn what they're about. So get a free account at Veloguide.com, be a guide, be a guidee, a guider, and then chip in if you can, learn about it and think about it, and that would be super awesome. So we're putting together a full Worst Retirement Ever episode for this, but in the meantime, we just wanted to show you the race. So here it is. Here's me versus Fabian Cancellara. So we did the Fondo course. We did the first 60K, something like that, and then we stopped in a parking lot that was the bottom of the climb. I had reconned it the day before. I did some openers. I did a little tactical thought. We spoke for a minute. We talked, and then we went for it. We went off. The climb. It was a very interesting climb to race on. It was, as you can see, like I just started off. I just went for it. Frankie told me to go from the gun, and sort of, to me, like I wasn't going to drop him and stick it from the gun, but I wanted to test him. I wanted to see what Fabian had in his legs. If I wanted to sort of take control. So I did that. The beginning of the climb, the first part was steep. This was it started pretty steep. I kicked and he responded. He didn't attack. He didn't draft. He rode next to me, and he sort of made it clear, like, okay, this isn't going to be super easy. And he made it clear he's racing, and B, he's got something in his legs. So climber or not, here we were. So I took off. I was going 500 watts for the first minute or two for sure. And he was definitely right. He would do a thing. He was like 6 feet behind me, and I couldn't figure out, is there a little mind game going on? Is he trying to make me think that I dropped him, so I'll go too hard? But clearly, like at that distance, he still has a draft. I have no idea where his fitness is, and I have no idea what he was. But just for a while, we rode side by side and we looked at each other, but we kept the pressure on. So the first part of the climb is steep, and then and here I tried a couple accelerations. I sort of again he responded to the first one. He was 6 feet behind me, and then he was with me, and then I was like, all right, let's see what his snap is. And sort of each time the same thing, like he was there, but he wasn't, but he didn't look great, but he definitely wasn't shattered. He was still kind of in it. So I didn't want to ever go full on. I didn't want to give it 100%, afraid I might pay for it, and I didn't want to give him a free ride. As long as he was on my wheel, I didn't want to ever go 100%. So this is the second kind of kicker. Up here, it starts to flatten out a little bit around this bend. As you can see, the photographers were around, and meantime we're kind of coming through all of his riders, who I was hoping wouldn't put a pump in my spokes. But to be honest, a surprising number of them were cheering for me, which was pretty hilarious. But pole for pole, he matched me this part. He responded to every effort. I think I had him hurting. I think he was kind of dangling back because he had to, and not because he was playing with me. But we entered this flat section very much together, and I really wasn't sure what could happen. So I tried another little acceleration. I knew that if I reached the flat section with Fabian Cancellara, he was, that's where his advantage comes. He was just, obviously he's better than me on the flat parts. The only chance I have is when it's steep. So here, now that it kind of flattens out, I didn't want to give him anything anymore. I wanted to sort of force him to start pulling. So I tried a couple little sprints just to sort of look back. And every time he was right there. If you're wondering, I was not enjoying this view or paying attention to this view. We're coming up to 5K from the top. Still a long way to go. As we come by some of the Fondo riders, there were packs. So what we kind of did, of course, anytime you put a pack of bike riders together, they're going to race and rip each other apart. So that was definitely happening in the front group. Of course, Fabian, it being his ride, he doesn't race it, so he was stopping at the aid stations, and me and Jeff and Nathan were doing that as well. So here we're kind of coming up on guys who were coming out of the first groups. It's just, at this point everyone's riding their own pace, except two people out of the 300 who'd signed up to ride that day. So by now, like I've ridden and I've watched him, and he's matched me, and we're looking at each other, and we're wondering and thinking about it, he's trying to figure out if I'm empty, and vice versa. Here is where we really lost a lot of time on the Strava. I have a problem where there's bike races, and we've talked about bike races, and the winner is the winner that year, but a Strava KOM is a legacy, and when I looked at the course, I sort of thought that's a climb that suits me, but if it was too tactical, that slows you down. So this whole bit where we're kind of looking at each other and not going full on and we're each trying to save energy, definitely cost me. I can't say definitely. I'm pretty sure it cost me a KOM, and that's disappointing. So this is, if retirement goes too bad, I might have to come back for this one. Here it is. Here's where Fabian took over and showed his stuff. It's kind of a long, almost downhill flat stretch in the middle. He gets in his TT position. And he's ripping around these turns, and I'm looking at his legs, and I'm remembering myself, like, it's a weird moment, because like we're in a fight, but I'm still somewhere very deep, and I'm still a fanboy, and I'm sort of looking at this, and I'm like, when you saw this view in a bike race, when anyone saw this view in a bike race, they were about to be in big trouble, and I'm one of very fortunate few who's been on the wheel of a Fabian Cancellara in the TT position, giving it everything, which is, all I can do is just laugh at my life, but I was kind of like, I'm just going to sit back here and savor his butt and the legs that I remember seeing on TV when I was 17. And he says he's 90 kilos, but the pedaling style, like all of us, like, yeah, I saw that on TV. I saw that winning tour stages, and here I am seeing it, and my heart rate's 180 beats a minute. So here, I think it was a strange tactical move for him to pull in that section, and this is me making him pay for it. I think he knew. My best guess, and I haven't talked, I think he knew that I had him on the hills. I think he watched that. Of course, at this point, someone else attacked me. But I think he knew that I had him on the climb, and there was a flat part, and he was just going to use his strength. And graciously, he's gonna rip that course and do his thing. But it's also he was kind of passing it there and saying, okay, Phil's going to win this race. So I'm going to go out classy, but he was going to go out, and as soon as the road kicked up again, I went for it. As you can see, I'm passing the cars that are stuck behind this pack here, and now like there's a little separation, and it's 3K to go, but it's mostly uphill, and I know there's one more flat bit near the end, and I told myself the whole time, if he's with me on this flat part, it's a cool climb to race on. Like, I wouldn't have thought that an uphill man-on-man race would actually be a race, but from reconning it, as I looked at the flat parts, I was like, man, if I drop him there, he catches me there, and if I drop him there, he catches me there, and this last flat bit comes up in a few minutes, and if he's still with me on that flat bit and he can sit on, and it comes to a sprint in the last couple hundred meters uphill, I don't see how that would ever work out well for me. I never won a race in my career that wasn't solo. So that was it. I didn't think that would start now against one of the top riders of my generation or any generation. So I just gave it everything on this climb, knowing that I wanted a nice gap before the final flat bit. And I think there were so many people back there, and it was such a sort of a mess on the course with cars. I didn't know if I had 5 seconds on him or if he gave up and had 5 minutes. But I just sort of decided I have a gap. I don't know where he's at, and I'm gonna push it all the way to the line. So now we're at 2K to go. And there's no time for me now to enjoy the nice green meadow that I'm rolling through, where the cowbells ring. There's I'm not gonna lie. I think I didn't know I was in control of the race, but I think for the most part I was in control of the race. It turns out that me training very hard. And still being pretty close to race fitness is a little bit better up a hill than Fabian Cancellara, who's actually retired, who's retired properly, it seems, and it turns out he was retired properly. So I kind of had it in control, but at this point I was definitely gassed and just kind of hang on to the speed of the line, because it's still 2K is a long way if you're going up. This was my favorite part of the climb, and you're about to see why. I don't know who these guys are. I don't know who the guy with no shirt on and a wig, or the guy in the tutu who came to heckle. It made me really happy. I think there's a problem that I always had with professional cycling, which is, like, given all the history and when I came into the sport, It was never something that and my place in the sport, which was near the very bottom, I was never able to really take the sport seriously in a lot of ways, and I had fun with it. I ate cookies from strangers at the start line. I laughed in the pack. I was silly on social media. I wrote blogs. And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take things seriously. And Fabian is the Swiss are serious people, and he was a serious dude, and he was that was like, so I think we both love riding our bikes, but we approach things very differently. And that's probably why I'm on YouTube and not racing. For sure, that's a factor. Pro cycling, I never quite got along in a lot of ways, but then there's this funny thing where, like, it's his event, and I've managed to just, in this little way, there's two dudes that are dressed funny chasing me, and I've managed to infect it just a little bit. And the one guy had a little container of cookies, and that might be more of a victory than the actual victory of just that people that, again, I don't know who those guys are, that they showed up to heckle me or heckle him at his own event. Just a little bit of fun has forced its way in there, and I don't know where he was, but I bet he cracked a smile. Now this is the last bit. This is the last flat part before kind of the final drag to line. So I can see the pass up ahead. I can see the cut in the trees, and I know that's the finish. I still can't find Fabian behind me, and at this point there's nothing to do but just squeeze it all out to the finish. And now it kicks. Now it's a steep bit. Just a little 1 minute sprint to glory or something. That's Veloguide in the van next to me filming. We tried to get as many angles as we could for this. We had Nathan Haas volunteered to come, and I was kind of like, oh, we can put a camera on your handlebars because you won't get dropped, and just face us and just sit behind us, and that's how you want to spend 15 minutes, right? World Tour professional who's not retired, and he was like, sure, man. So up here's the finish, which I knew well. I did an effort that finished here the day before, and it's a nasty drag because you can see it for so long. You think you're almost there, but you're not. And by now I know I've won, but I'm still thinking about Strava, so I might as well go for it. I was way down. I think we were over 2 minutes down on the Strava, but that's it. That's the win. That's the victory. And now it's a Gran Fondo. So we have 20K to go, but we stop at the aid station, and we stop and we wait for Fabian, and we shake hands, and we go our separate ways. So that was a bike race. I'm not gonna lie, that was a bike race. That was fun and weird and interesting, and the full episode, the full story behind it, including my meeting with Fabian Cancellara. Does he eat the cookie I offer him? Spoiler, he does. But you get to see it coming very soon.